As one of the most recent shows to come out of Shonen Jump, it's a mix of sci-fi, supernatural, action, comedy, and even romance. It's all wrapped up in a chaotic bow. Going into this show, I had no idea what to expect. I've never read the manga nor heard of the anime until my YouTube algorithm got absolutely taken over when the first season dropped. Watching it for the first time, I thought, oh, this is cool. The animation's sick and it's giving a really chaotic energy. It wasn't until I saw the first few episodes of season 2 that I took a step back and realized just how good these characters are. How good Momo is. So that's what I'm going to talk about today.
I figured out what happened. Tell it, girl.
I always liked Momo, but I think subconsciously while watching season 1, I was bracing myself for when Momo would inevitably get sidelined and Okurun would take the front spot, especially once romance was thrown into the mix. Shonen doesn't have the best track record with romance, but that hasn't happened, and the creator himself stated that it never will. Momo's one of the main protagonists of Dandadan, with Okurun being the other co-protagonist. Emphasis on co-protagonist. The story follows both of them, at least officially. Momo's a sharp-tongued high schooler, alright, but this is where she deviates from everything else we're accustomed to, at least when it comes to shonen. She's brave, analytical, and has a level of self-awareness that makes her feel human. The show does a great job of show, don't tell, when it comes to Momo's character. She has moments of being compassionate and thoughtful, but it's never outright told to us, because it's realistic. Momo is a high school girl. She wouldn't start yapping out loud about how she cares about everyone around her, just like it's not easy for her to admit to herself that she likes Okurun. She's opinionated and can sometimes speak before thinking. This, along with the general fears high schoolers have of public humiliation, creates a common barrier between a high schooler and their willingness to admit their faults or feelings. But more on that later. Momo has psychic abilities that prove to be essential to the plot. She finds herself to be incredibly useful in any situation she's in due to how flexible her abilities are. Unlike Okurun, who has a limit on how often he can go all out, Momo doesn't really have that. She can get exhausted, but her power doesn't have a hard cutoff. In most situations she finds herself in, Momo doesn't brute force her victory. She doesn't sit there and cry until Okurun can solve the problem. She comes up with an idea and finds a way to make use of whatever's around. They always end up either working as a team, or Momo finds a clever solution to solve the problem on her own. Okurun could and should be his own video.
When he was all split up into pieces, I grabbed his heart before we got back together. Figured I'd punch it to see if it hurt him. Sure enough, it did, and his screams gave him away.
Yikes! Whoa! You're smart.
This is not a common thing you see among other female characters in shonen. In fact, here are 4 trends we usually see from our shonen female characters. Number 1. Victory trophy for the protagonist. These characters will most of the time faithfully follow the protagonist through his journey, admire him greatly, be his cheerleader until the end of the story, in which they likely end up together. No development or effort is necessary on the protagonist's part, because she's already head over heels. We have already seen from the very first episode that Momo doesn't fit this at all. She's involved in every fight, calls Okurun out whenever he's being stubborn or unreasonable, and they butt heads on different things. It's not a one-sided display of affection either. Okurun likes Momo. He didn't just think, oh, pretty girl, let me chase after her until she caves in. They are genuinely good friends. Number 2, fan service. Fan service. I don't think I really need to explain it. If you've seen more than one anime, then you most likely know what I mean. They take the pretty girl, usually underage, and either dress them in relieving clothes that literally make zero sense to the plot, or have the camera pan in on moments which they are in an exposed position. Now, Dandadan has fan service. Clearly. Did you guys see that first episode? But we're going to talk more about that later. Number 3, one-note archetypes. A lot of times you'll see different archetypes like the tsundere, the yandere, the quiet and submissive one, or the pretty and mature one that gives off a sense of danger. And while the archetypes themselves are fine, usually this is as far as character development goes. You won't see them stray away from their assigned archetype or receive any meaningful growth. They already have the template. There's no point in changing it around. Archetypes like these are incredibly common in anything anime. Sometimes they're done really well, but a lot of times it's not. Momo is far from a one-note archetype though. She's complex, makes mistakes, has regrets, and acts like a teenager. While doing the research for this video, I decided to read up on a few research articles that discuss the common trends found in anime, and I found this quote that I think summarizes well the general issue of female characters across all shonen have. Of course, not every character, but this is just a common trend that was cited in the research. As a fan and avid watcher of anime, I have noticed that while the female protagonist is displayed as strong and independent, they're not taken as seriously as the male protagonist. Although there are instances where the female lead's strength is greater or equal to her male counterpart, their strength is often overshadowed because of her dominant attitude and her overly sexualized body. And this is honestly something applicable and seen even outside of shonen. The story will tell you that the female character is really strong, but it's hard to take seriously because we hardly saw the journey. And they get sidelined anyway. But like I said earlier, not all shonen do this. And if your favorite shonen is an older show like Naruto, you're still allowed to like it. Nobody's trying to take that away from you. This video is about Momo, and I can't talk about why she's such a good lead without addressing just how many obstacles, tropes, and fetishes need to be dodged for her to even exist. All this aside, let's get more specific on how Momo fits the mold of a great character from a writing standpoint. After some research, I came up with a list of aspects that define a good character. Also, I'll be sure to leave all my sources in the description in case you want to check it out. But now presenting the 5 characteristics that make a good character. Relatability, growth, motivation, relationships, and complexity. Let's start with relatability. While relating to Momo can be a bit subjective because not all of us were 15-year-old girls in Japan growing up, there's still aspects of Momo's character that are highly relatable. She shows a lot of emotions, like frustration and doubt. She puts up a strong front and presents herself as someone really tough. And while she is tough, she isn't omnipotent. And her tendency to sometimes act before thinking things through, or to get flustered or put up walls because something new is scary, makes it easy to connect with her character. Growth. While the show is still in its early stages, Momo has still displayed a lot of growth, specifically with her attitude towards others, especially Okurun. There's no huge Zuko moment, nor does there always need to be, but rather small interactions that display Momo's gradual change in mindset. I think it becomes more obvious when we're watching episode 1. Momo's dating a guy who reminds her of a celebrity crush, even though he's an absolute douche. She's guarded, hot-headed, sees Okurun as just another nerd, and is living in a pretty self-contained circle. But throughout the show, she learns to trust others, to communicate, and to become more emotionally mature. Momo also learns how to solve her own problems and think outside the box. Whether it's with a sumo spirit alien thingy or a mutant worm, Momo usually ends up taking advantage of things around her to find a solution. Motivated. Momo's motivated to protect other people that she cares about from the supernatural and alien attacks. She also has other secondary motivations like knowing more about them, spending time with Okurun, and more mundane things like getting a phone after it was blown up by some aliens in episode 1. Her motivation also makes her incredibly competent and willing to face any challenges rather than run away or let Okurun save the day. Relationships. This is where Momo's character is probably the strongest, because the writing around these characters is incredibly strong. Momo's dynamic with Okurun is something everyone loves, and one of the few hetero relationships I have ever found myself this deeply invested in. I don't typically enjoy romance, even outside of anime, but I'm genuinely looking forward to the weekly Momo and Okurun interaction as each new episode season 2 drops, because it's so cute. Momo's relationship with her grandmother is also really interesting. She's her caretaker, and they had a bit of a strange relationship until recently. I think their interactions are underrated, as they have some key character moments for both of them. I can go on and on about Momo's connection with everyone in the cast, but I'll stop here by saying that for each conflict, Momo has been able to develop a meaningful connection with everyone. While it may not be a talk no jutsu, the story always connects her to the characters on an emotional level, and it being part of her ability is just good writing. It's an ability that Okurun doesn't have, which often leads Momo to have unique insight and perspective that can help them reach a better resolution. Momo's relationship with every character is what makes Dandadan feel much more close-knit. Not every relationship is this perfect thing, but the interactions and dynamics between the characters make it easy to fall in love with them. Momo has a lot of chemistry with the characters, which works really well for the show.
Please teach me.
That's why you've been sulking, because you were jealous of Shiratori!
Shut your hole, you idiot! I am so not jealous of her!
The culprit is you!
It's not!
She even has connections with the antagonists. This is particularly true with Turbo Granny, as we see Momo address that Turbo Granny wanted vengeance for victims around Momo's age. And while I may be overthinking it, I think Turbo Granny might be developing a soft spot for Momo. Another example would be Momo's connection with Acrobatic Silky, in episode 7 where she got to see her story while trying to save Ira. Which did not need to be that flippin' sad, what the heck, Dandadan? Relationships are a big part of the show, and Momo's ability to empathize and see other stories are what makes her so compelling as a character, because even if she's not outright saying it, we know she knows, and we know she cares. And then we have complexity. Momo's a complex character. She's not just the tough one or the trophy for Okurun to claim at the end of the story. She has interests, both in aliens and fashion. She has regrets and embarrassing moments. She has ambition, and she also shows vulnerability, but she can still stand up for herself.
You need a sacrifice and you're it!
Blow me! Your volcano drama ain't my fault!
This entire video is literally about how she's complex. If you made it this far and don't think Momo's a complex character, I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. But beyond writing, let's talk about the character designs. Momo was inspired by the Gyaru aesthetic, specifically Kogal. Through researching this, I found out that there are several different types of Gyaru, including Anguro, which is what Momo's friend Muko is inspired by. As for Momo herself, she has cute outfits. She wears clothes that I can see people wearing in real life. I literally have this outfit, and I have friends who love PJs like these. And while fashion is something that varies from person to person, her design makes sense for what a teenager will wear, while also keeping to that main character type of energy most of the time. What I mean is, usually female characters are there to provide some level of fan service. Even if they're supposed to be these powerful, serious people, we still get them in clothes that are not practical at all within the context of the show, which makes it hard for us to take them seriously. Like, why is this girl dressed in a bikini top and shorts at a cooking show? That's literally a safety hazard. I'm all for dressing however you want if you're an adult, but there are hundreds of examples of girls there just for fan service and with outfits that make zero sense to the story. Dandadan is not innocent of this. I'm pretty desensitized to fan service, so I wasn't really outraged or shocked, but it's kind of a shame episode 1 went the route it did, because there is no way I could recommend this show in real life. People are going to want to put me on a list, especially with the season finale. Like, what the fuck was that? I cannot put on Dandadan in my living room. Dandadan is just one of those shows that, in my opinion, doesn't need to go with fan service, or at least not that hard. Like, it's genuinely really good. And hey, at least they give guys the same treatment, I guess. It's extremely interesting to learn about how the creator, Yukinobu Tatsu, struggled to get Dandadan picked up because he wanted a female lead. During an interview, he talked about how he always wanted to put a female lead in Shonen, but it kept getting shot down, until eventually he had to rework the story and put Outtro as the co-lead. That's when the show finally got picked up, and we got what we see today. Outtro is a great co-lead, who, like I mentioned earlier, could be his own video. But I can't help but appreciate that Momo has and always will be the main lead, at least according to these interviews. And she's not just there to meet the fan service quota, she's the center of all the chaos, whether she likes it or not. But what do you think? Is this a symptom of a new era of anime for female characters? For potentially female protagonists in shonen? I know I spent a lot of the video criticizing shonen, and while I do stand by those critiques, I also do like shonen. It comes from a place of love, I swear. The show was honestly one of the biggest curveballs for me, as I didn't expect to love it as much as I do. I'm excited to see how the rest of the series plays out, and I was a bit nervous to do the research for the show because I haven't read the manga, but luckily I didn't come across any spoilers. And again, please remember, this is just my opinion. So this is my second ever YouTube video. Hopefully the audio sounds a bit better than last time. If there's any specific characters or shows you want me to talk about, please let me know. I'm already working on the next video, so if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe and stick around.